The colour isn't the worst. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but I literally just brushed my hair away and it's like scraped a layer of foundation off. Okay, that one is a lot more pigmented. Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm comparing xxrevolution with Revolution because Revolution as an umbrella brand has just released xxrevolution as a sister brand. If you're not familiar with Revolution, then this is probably going to sound really confusing, but for everyone that follows Revolution and is a fan of Revolution, sure every time I say Revolution, then you will know what I'm talking about. So xxrevolution has just launched, I think last Wednesday maybe, and I picked up a bunch of stuff and they marketed xxrevolution as like skin combined with makeup, and it's got very bougie packaging. So the prices are a little bit high, so I thought it'd be quite interesting to compare that to Revolution, who has quite low prices. They don't go overboard with their packaging, so I thought it'd be quite interesting to compare the two on each side of my face and let you know what I thought. So if you do want to know what I thought, then carry on watching. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a primer, but I'm not going to use a Revolution primer just because I want to use one that I know works well on my skin, so it's like a fair test for the foundations. Because obviously I'm curious to try the xxrevolution foundation again because I didn't get on with it very well in my xxrevolution testing video. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but it's not looking good around here. I don't know if that's picking up. Don't know about that. I think it's the foundation. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't the primer or anything, so I'm just going to use a different primer for this video. And in case you're wondering, I'm just going to use the Too Faced Hangover primer. Okay, so I'm going to use the xxrevolution stuff on this side and then the normal Revolution stuff on this side. So I should have like a line down my face. I'm hoping the foundations aren't too different. I've got the Revolution Concealing Hydrate in F5.7 and the Glow Skin Foundation from xxrevolution in shade 4.5. I'm really not very good at colour matching myself, so I tried to kind of base it on what was on the website, and it looks like I'll just show you. It looks like the Concealing Hydrate one is more of like a yellow toned in the bottle, but I'm hoping they're not too different. It will also be an interesting test to see how close their shades are, because I assume that their like shades are exactly the same in each brand, because that would obviously make it easier for everybody. So in theory 5.7 should be darker than 4.5, but we'll see. So I'm going to start with the Concealing Hydrate, and I'm just going to pop one pump onto my sponge. One should be enough. That looks quite dark on the sponge. Okay, so that is the Revolution Concealing Hydrate, and the colour isn't the worst. I think it is like a little bit yellow toned for my skin. It's very, very dewy looking, obviously because this is the Hydrate formula. It's just very glossy, but I think it'll be fine after I've like put some powder product on my face. The only problem with it is that it creases really, really quickly, so if you want to stop that creasing, then you kind of have to go in with the powder quite quickly. But I'll probably just do it after concealer anyway. But otherwise it's definitely full coverage. It's like covered up pretty much everything, like redness and all that. Like, because obviously you can see on this side, like around my nose and cheek, it's obviously a bit more red than it is on this side. But I'm now going to go in with the xxrevolution foundation and see how it compares. And I'm just going to use the same sponge, and I'm literally just going to put one pump onto here as well. So immediately the XX one feels heavier. It's definitely got that perfumey smell like I mentioned in the first video where I used it. It's just got such a strong smell of perfume, which is weird. And looking at the ingredients, I can't see any like added perfume. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but I literally just brushed my hair away and it's like scraped a layer of foundation off. So it's not very, like, it's literally just coming away with me touching it, so it's not Like if you don't powder it down, I don't think it's going to be long wearing at all. Okay, so both of those foundations are on my face. This side's the Xxx one and then this side's the normal Revolution one. Personally, I think I prefer this side. Although I think this one's going to be a bit longer wearing because it kind of already feels like a bit more like dried down to my face, whereas this one, like you literally touch it and it'll come straight off. So I think without powdering, the Xxx Revolution one's not going to be particularly long wearing. They're both very dewy. I would say probably the Xxx one's more dewy, which would make sense because it's supposed to be more of a dewy foundation. I definitely prefer the shade of this one. Like I think this side of my face just looks a bit dull. They're both creasing quite a lot. I wouldn't say one of them is creasing less than the other particularly, because you can see like under my eyes there, on both sides are creasing quite a lot. I can't remember the price of the Concealing Hydrate. I think the Concealing Hydrate was £9, £9 or £8. Again, I'll pop it on screen. But I know the Xxx one was £15, so I mainly wanted to compare the two because Xxx Revolution is quite a bit more expensive than normal Revolution, so I wanted to see like how the quality really compares to their like cheaper Revolution brand. But so far there isn't really one I prefer other than the shade of this one, but that's more down to my ability to pick the right shade rather than the finish of the product. I think they both look incredibly similar, and at first impressions I don't think either one is performing any better than the other. So for the Revolution side, I'm gonna add the Conceal and Hydrate Concealer, and I got this in the shade C2. So I'm just gonna pop that under my eyes and where I normally would. So I've just blended in the Conceal and Hydrate Concealer on this side. No complaints so far, it's not creasing too badly. But generally everything on my face creases, so I'm not too surprised when something does. And then on this side, I'm gonna add the, please excuse my voice, I don't know where it's gone, but I'm just gonna add the Super Fix Concealer on this side. Again, I'll add the prices on screen because I can't remember them off the top of my head. This concealer feels a lot lighter than the other concealer, which is weird because the Xxx foundation felt heavier than the Revolution foundation, whereas it's the opposite with the concealers. Okay, so that's all blended in as well, and I thought I'd just mention, because it's quite interesting, these are both in the shade C2, or this one's called CX2 whereas this one's called C2. But I feel like the Xxx Revolution one is definitely a bit lighter and maybe a bit more warm toned. But the main difference I've noticed so far is that this one hasn't creased quite as much, which is good because this concealer is actually supposed to be crease proof, whereas I find it's not crease proof, but it does crease less. But as you can see here, that one's creased quite a lot already. I'm just going to powder my face quickly because I don't have a powder from either brands, so I'm just going to use a Revolution Pro powder that I normally use anyway. Before I do though, in real life this side is definitely looking more dewy, which I think it should do anyway because obviously this was the like dewy foundation. Okay, so I've just powdered down with the Revolution Pro powder and this side is still looking quite dewy despite it being powdered down, so I actually really like the finish of this foundation. It's also not playing up like it was the other day, like there's no weird like patches it's clung to. The finish is really nice. The only criticism I do have, and I find this with like most of the Revolution brand foundations, is that it does show a little bit more texture on my face than I would have with other foundations, I think. It might be the bright lights because normally I don't do my makeup under this like softbox light. But generally I really like the finish of both the foundations, but this one I'm preferring only a tiny bit just because it's very slightly more glowy. And then for face products, I've actually decided to compare the two trio palettes because they were the most similar products I found in both the brands. And obviously this one has a lot more like nicer packaging, like it's very sturdy. I like the way that the like pans of product are like slightly raised. I don't know if you can see that. Whereas this one has like a tiny strip of mirror at the top and like very flimsy packaging. But I did just want to say that the shades kind of do look similar, especially the highlighter shade, I think. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but the highlighter, well, actually all of them look very similar, so I thought it'd be a good product to compare. This one was one of my favourite makeup products for a really long time. So it would be good to find like a higher quality, just like better version of it really. So I'm going to compare them exactly on each side of my face, obviously. So I'm just going to start with the contour shade. This one is quite a nice cool toned contour, which I quite like. Whereas the one in the Xxx Revolution palette, I think is more warm toned. But I'm just going to apply the Revolution side first and then do the Xxx Revolution. Okay, so that's all three of those products done on the Revolution side. I really like all of these products, kind of because they're like a little bit on the cheaper side. Because they're not that pigmented, they're quite nice and subtle, so you've got quite a good amount of control over them. Like if you wanted to build them up, then it's quite easy to do so. Or if you wanted to stick to like the more natural, subtle look, then you can also do that just as easy. The contour is not very pigmented, which is why you probably can't see it that well. But so far, I'm really happy with those products, especially the highlighter. I don't know if you can see, but it looks really nice in real life. Like it's just like such a nice, like natural glow rather than glittery. And if you've watched any of my videos before, then you'll know that I really like a glowy highlighter. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side with this palette. I think the prices for these ones are very different. Like I think this one's about £3 or £3.50, whereas this one was 15, I think. Again, I will confirm that later on when I come to edit this and pop the prices on screen, but just like it's just something I'm being mindful of while I'm putting them on my face, is how different the prices are despite them coming from the same like company, if you see what I mean, like from the same kind of brands. Okay, that one is a lot more pigmented. You definitely don't need a lot of that. Definitely more warm toned as well. Blends out really nicely though, which is good. Okay, so that's that side done as well. I really like the blush in that one. It's like almost like, I don't know what the word is it iridescent or like translucent? Like at first I thought it was too much, but then it kind of has just left like a really nice pink glow, whereas on this side you really can't see the blusher at all. So I really like that. The highlighters are very similar. I think the highlighter on this side has a slightly more pink undertone. I don't know if you can see. But other than that, I really like both of them. I think the Xxx Revolution one for me though is it kind of like just one because of the blusher, and the contour shade is really nice. It was really pigmented, but luckily it's very easy to blend out, so that kind of like counteracts the fact that it's like overly pigmented. So far I'm definitely preferring this side of my face. I don't know what you think, but yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards the Xxx Revolution side. So I don't have any more products to compare, but I did finally receive the brow pencil, so I'm obviously just going to test that in this video. I ordered the Xxx Revolution Micro Brow Definer, but instead of receiving the actual brow product, I just received an empty box in my initial package, so they kindly sent me another one. So I'm just going to test that in this video. My favourite ever brow product is the NYX I don't know what I think it's just called a micro brow pencil, and I think this is supposed to be quite similar. Like I'll do the little YouTuber focus thing, but it has got like a nice fine tip on the end, so yeah, hopefully I'll get along quite nicely with this. Oh, also I've just noticed that both sides have creased very badly on the eyelids, even though I did powder them down slightly, and I'd actually say the Xxx Revolution side has creased just a little bit more because there's like one crease under my eyelid, whereas there isn't on that side, so that's not ideal. So those are my brows done. I just filled them in quite lightly with it. It's very, very creamy, so you don't need to use a lot of pressure at all when you're using it. I think the colour is almost a perfect match for me as well. Luckily, this one is also called Ash Brown as well as my NYX one, so it was quite easy for me to choose a shade. But the NYX one I think is a bit more firmer, whereas this one is quite soft, so you don't really need to use a lot of pressure at all when you're doing your eyebrows. So yeah, that's a really solid eyebrow product. I will probably continue to use that. So this is the full face done. I'm just going to pop some mascara on because I don't have a mascara from Xxx Revolution or Revolution. In fact, I don't even think Xxx Revolution did a mascara, but I am just going to put the mascara I normally use on, which is the Too Faced Better Than Sex, and then come back with my final thoughts. So this is the finished look. I personally feel like you can't really tell that I've got two different brands of makeup on each side of my face. So I think in conclusion, I don't really know if Xxx Revolution is worth the extra money. Not to say that it's not a great brand, because obviously I really do like all of the products I've tried, especially now that I've retried the foundation and found that I think it was more the primer that was causing the weird like reaction thing. So I'll pop the totals of each side of my face on the screen. So this side, obviously the Revolution side, this side obviously the Xxx Revolution side. I don't know what side I prefer. I really like both, but I think this side just gets it because just because of the blusher, really, because you can't really tell I'm really wearing blusher on that side, I don't think, whereas that one's got like that nice like rosy glow to it, and obviously the colour of the foundation on that side is a bit better in my opinion, and the contour, I guess. So there is obviously very tiny like quality differences, but I think for such the large gap in the price, especially for the two like trio palettes, I don't know, like I think you're paying more for the packaging than you are the actual product in the packaging, and like I said in the Jeffree Star video, I would rather pay less money for it to have like crappy packaging than to pay more just for like a bit more like prettier packaging. That being said though, the Xxx Revolution packaging is very pretty, and I do really like all the products I tried from Xxx Revolution. But let me know which side you prefer. Like I said, I think I only just prefer this side, but both sides are very good, and you can barely tell I'm wearing two different brands on my face. So thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!